studying milling cutters. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning. Screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
In case if there is problem with the screen, please let me know.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll start. So we were studying milling cutters. Again, this is important from examination point of view also for 5 marks. So there are many milling cutters, but we'll concentrate only on few important cutters. So this is a plain milling cutter. It is different from your side and face milling cutter. I think somebody has joined. Sandra, the screen is visible, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is different from side and face milling cutter. Why? Because there are no cutting edges on the side. On the side, there are no cutting edges. The cutting edge is only here. This is what is called as the cutting edge. And these are your relief. These are your relief. So you might have seen our knife also, which we used in kitchen. There is a relief provided. And the cutting edge, that is हम लोग धार बोलते हैं, that is only a line. So you have only a line contact, and there will be a primary relief angle and there will be a secondary relief angle. And the land, that is the thickness of the cutting edge, is hardly 0.5 to 1 mm, because you cannot keep the entire portion as a cutting edge, because there will be a lot of cutting forces if this is in touch with the workpiece. This is light duty plain milling cutter, and this is a cutting edge. What you can see here, these are the cutting edges. Again, there is no cutting edge on the side. You'll come to know what do I mean by side cutting edges. And this cutter is obviously used for surface milling, that is for plain surface milling. This is a heavy duty milling cutter which is used for rough face milling, and rough it has fewer teeth, and it has coarse teeth, and the number of teeth are also less. And this is helix angle. So the helix angle is also a less. Generally it is in the range of 10 degree to 15 degree, and always less than 45 degree. Here the helix angle is more. See, earlier case mein it was 45 degree. Wait, it has gone to home. See, earlier case the helix angle is less, whereas here the helix angle is more. And the cutters, these cutters are mounted on a arbor. Obviously it will be horizontal milling machine, horizontal arbor, and you can note this bore is always a ground, and there is a keyway, so that there is no relative motion between the shaft and the cutter. Relative motion means, like, suppose imagine if there is no keyway, if there is no key, then this cutter will slip will slip over the arbor. The cutter will slip over the arbor. So earlier also I had told that is if the shaft is rotating at 1000 rpm, the cutter may not rotate or it will rotate less than 1000 rpm. So if the key is provided, then the cutter will rotate, and that's why the cutter will rotate at the same rpm, and that's why it is called as the positive drive. So only that movement will be along axis, this axial movement. So in order to prevent the axial movement, you have to lock it from both the sides. You have to lock it from the both the sides. So you need to provide the spacers. Spacer is a kind of bush. So you need to provide spacer from both the sides, and then at the end you have to lock by nut. That is, this high helix plane milling cutter is not commonly used, so you need not study this. Again, this standard shank type helical milling cutters, this is a helical milling cutter. Again, here the helix angle is more. This is also not used commonly, and generally it is used on vertical milling machine. There is a pilot here, and these type of cutters are used for enlarging the drilled hole. So this pilot, see here, this is fixed inside the spindle. This is a taper, so it goes inside the spindle, and this front portion, that is this pilot portion, it gets guided inside the drilled hole. This is what is side milling cutters. See, now it has a cutting edge on this side. If you can see, it has a cutting edge on this side, cutting edge on the side, as well as it has, this is here also you can see this cutting edge properly. Here also you can see the cutting edge. So these cutters are used for side milling as well as for the face milling. So this will do the face and this will do the side milling. So if you want to do a 90-degree, we call it as a shoulder milling, which I have shown, shoulder milling, like our shoulder. So shoulder, you have two surfaces, one at both the surfaces are 90-degree to each other. So those surfaces can be milled with the help of side and face milling cutter. So this is a staggered one and this is straight one. So staggered means like one is bent on left hand side, other is bent on the right hand side, like what teeth you can see on the hacksaw. Hmm. One on the left hand side, another on the right hand side. This is just to reduce the cutting force so that all the teeth are not in contact at a time simultaneously. Staggered is nothing but like वेनी, हम लोग वेनी बोलते हैं. I mean the workshop peoples, in the layman's language it is called the वेनी बांधना. This is half side milling cutters. Half side milling cutters means only on one side the cutting edges are there, on the other side there is no cutting edge. So here at the back side there is a cutting edge, and on the front there is no cutting edge. So that's what it is called as the half side milling cutters. This is again a face milling cutter, but these are insert type. These are insert type. So you can change this. If any inserts are blunt, you can replace it. Shell end mill, and this is helical type shell end mill. So this is used for surface milling. These shell end mills are used for surface milling. Again, this is a bore on which this cutter is mounted in a arbor. Now this can be even mounted on a vertical milling machine with the help of this stub arbor. This is called the stub. Stub matlab chota. And if you say arbor means usually it is a bigger or a longer arbor. So this is the stub arbor. Now this bore will fit over here, and this is the nut which is going to be tightened. Angular cutters are used for milling the angles. And obviously, whatever angles you have on the cutter, the same angle will be cut on the workpiece. So it will be meant for a particular angle milling. So if it is 60°, it will mill only 60° surface. If you want say 55°, it is not possible. So if you want 55°, then you have to use universal vise, tilt it at an angle of 55°, and then with the help of an end mill, you carry out the angular milling. These are the form cutters. Many times on the workpieces, you have radius to be milled. So as per the shape of the radius, the shapes are given to the cutters. Like say this is concave. Why it is now? This looks like a concave, but see, look carefully. Now on the workpiece, you are going to get a concave shape, and so the cutter will be convex. Convex means like if you see a saucer, a chai ka basi, it is concave. So that surface you will get it on a workpiece. So the cutter will be exactly a replica of that, opposite, mirror image. So this is a convex radius form milling cutter. This is concave. See this, इधर खड्डा है. So this is going to generate a convex shape on the workpiece. These are called as the profile milling cutter or gear tooth milling cutter, which are used only for cutting the gears. There are basically two types of profiles. One is called as the involute profile and another is called as the cycloidal. And again, for cutting gear tooth, the form or the shape will vary as per the module. Module is nothing but a parameter of a gear. Like for a person, what are the parameters? Height and weight. Okay, 5 feet 10 inch and weight is say 80 kilo. So similarly, for a gear to specify, the most important parameter is module, and module is equal to pitch circle diameter divided by number of teeth. So as per the module, your profile will vary, and this gear tooth cutter should be a replica of the gear tooth profile. This is called the metal slitting saws, and the thickness of this metal slitting saw is usually 3 millimeter, and normally this is used for cutting off operations. Again, this is a bore here having a keyway, so it can be mounted easily on a horizontal milling machine. So you have to be careful because the thickness is less, that is 3 mm only. So there are chances that if you operate it at higher cutting speeds and higher depth of cut or higher feed rates, then it may break off. Many times the cutter breaks and still it is continuing, since it is locked between the spacer, this metal slitting, that is आपका यहाँ पे एक स्पेसर रहता है, पीछे भी स्पेसर रहता है. Since it is locked between the two spacer, and if it cracks here, it remains intact because of the spacers and the nuts. And when you open it, like suppose whenever if you want to change the cutter, that time you come to know that it's a crack and it's already into the cutter is already broken into two parts. But since the spacer and nut is holding the cutter, it remains intact, and that prevent the accident also, because if your spacers and nut are not tightened properly, see, tighten properly means you should not tight it also like a dara singh, otherwise it will, the cutter itself will crack because of the excessive tightening force. So it should not be less, so that the cutter will fly. In this case, like suppose if the crack, if it cracks, your forces, the holding forces or tightening forces is just nice, so that the cutter doesn't flies off. So you have to be very extremely careful when you are handling the metal slitting slots. T slot cutter, you must have seen on the tables, there are T slots cut. On the table there are T slots cut. So for cutting those T slot, these T slot cutters are used. T slot cutters, T slot will look like a letter, English letter T. And these T slots are generally on the tables. This is a Doetel cutter. Doetel cutter are nothing but which are used for guideways. Lathe machine guideways, you are familiar now. So for cutting the guideways, this Doetel cutter is used. So Doetel cutter, T-slot cutter, side and face milling cutter, end mills, and shell end mill. These are the 5 cutters which are commonly used. Convex, helix, concave. These are not commonly used or popularly used cutter. Woodruff key seat cutter. Uh, we have already seen what is Woodruff key. Woodruff key is a key which is used for making the alignment, and generally Woodruff key is used in tool post. Not only in tool post, it can be also used on shaft and pulley. It can be also used on shaft and pulley. The advantage of this shaft and pulley, or advantage of this Woodruff key in tool post, is to align, is to move your cutting tool or your pulley or your shaft little up and down, Woodruff key, because since it is semicircular shape, you have to push little in and out, so that it lifts the cutter up or it downs the cutter little below or little down. Otherwise, if you are not using the Woodruff key, then you have to put the packing. Like suppose if the center height is not correct, if it is center is down, if the center of the cutting tool is down, then you have to lift it. So for that you have to put the packing. Or if the center is up, then you have to grind it. So nobody does like this. So use of Woodruff key is common, and for that Woodruff key cutting tools are used. These are some safety precautions. The most important is that is you never handle workpiece or your chips or tool with the hand. If you are handling with the hand, you should be very careful. It is always advisable that you use gloves. That is one thing to protect your hands, and another is you use safety goggles in order to protect your eyes. The students are under misconcept that safety goggles are used while welding only, but no, on lathe machine, any machines, grinding machines, you must use safety goggle, because the chips can fly and can damage the eyes. So safety first and work later, always health first and then work. Remember this. Always you have to see that your hairs are tied and properly, that hairs doesn't get entangled with the rotating parts, and the accidents has happened especially with the girls, because they have long hairs. So we ask them, we make them cautious that you please tie your hairs properly so that it doesn't get, mixed up with the rotating parts. And also about the clothing and safety shoes. Even many companies, I take students for the visit, they are also, for the girls, they have to, tie their hairs properly. Then even the girls are not allowed uh, without safety shoes, helmet, and uh, dress also. Usually, the industry people, they tell that if you have to, visit a shop floor, they prefer Punjabi dress, and saris, etc., are not allowed. So these are the common, practices from safety point of view, because safety is most important. But nowadays even girls are working, with all these precautions. Nowadays means even 10 years before, they are working on all the machines, CNC machines, milling machines. Even they are working in tool and die making also. They make tools, dies. Especially if you visit Taiwan and Singapore, there are many tool rooms. Taiwan, uh, and you will see the ladies or the girls working on the dies, uh, grinding the tools, making the assembly of the injection molds. But for tool and die making, the Indians are in demand across the globe because of our skills. Then in accessories, you have indexing or dividing head, which is important. And as I told earlier, that indexing head is used for dividing the periphery of the surface of the workpiece, periphery of the surface of the workpiece. Like suppose if you want to cut, say, 20 teeth, then 360 degree divided by 20. So you, one way is that you mark at every 18 degree and then go on rotating manually. So this takes time. If there are say 50 components, workpieces, then this is not advisable. So for that, indexing or dividing head is an accessory, a very important accessory, and it has an index plate. This is called the index plate. This is a headstock. Headstock means it has a worm and worm wheel. Worm and worm wheel. Worm and worm wheel is used for transmitting the drive through 90 degree. Like spur gear, helical gear. These are the gears which are used for transmitting the drive if the axis of the shaft are parallel and in one plane. Whereas worm and worm wheel, they are used for transmitting the drive through 90 degree. There are another gears which are called the bevel gears. Bevel gears are also used for transmitting the drive through 90 degree. Okay. Then why worm and worm wheel are preferred? Worm and worm wheel are preferred because the reduction ratio is very high, 1:40, because the worm which is mounted on this, or index plate which is mounted on the worm, it has only one teeth, and worm wheel generally it has 40 teeth. So you get a reduction ratio of 1:40. Whereas in normal spur gears, bevel gears, or any gear, you cannot have a pinion. See, it's a two gears. When they are mating, the smaller gear is called as the pinion and the bigger gear is called as the gear. So gear and pinion, and you cannot have teeth on the pinion less than 8 teeth. So if you take 20 teeth and if you want a ratio of 1:40, then 20 into 40, so you need to have how many? 800 teeth on the gear, so that you can have a ratio of 40. 800 teeth. So imagine a 800 teeth on the gear. So it is going to be very big. So for that, worm and worm wheel is only the solution. Of course, now technology is so advanced. So you have variable drives, electronics drives, potentiometer drives, which are used for reducing the speed. But mechanically, if you want to use, then you have no options other than the worm and worm wheel. Another advantage is that this also gives the torque. This also gives the sufficient torque. Whereas your VFD, that is variable drives, feed drive, that is electronic drives, basically it has only a resistor in between, like our fan potentiometer. So it goes on changing the resistor, goes on changing the current and voltage. Accordingly, it reduces the motor RPM directly, and you get the desired speed. But then there is the issue of torque. But nowadays VFDs, that is variable feed drives, are very, very popular, because if you are using VFDs, then it can be controlled at your will. It can be controlled to the PLC, that is programmable logic controller. It can be controlled very easily, and you can program whatever speeds you want. It's like a CNC. So in CNCs also we use PIV, that is positive infinitely variable drives. So this is how your dividing head will look like. Okay. Of course, the question will not be asked like explain the construction of the dividing head and working. Only if it is asked for 2 marks, then just what is the use of dividing head? You have to just explain that it has worm and worm wheel, and it is used for indexing. So any type of indexing, like suppose if you want to index 3 1 degree, 2 degree, or even if you want to index 3 half degree, it is possible through the dividing head. So there are many, like circles on various PCD, like this is one PCD, second PCD, third PCDs. Okay. And there are techniques like simple indexing, then direct indexing, then compound indexing, then differential indexing, and angular indexing. So there are 5 different methods of indexing, which you need not study. Only you can just remember the names. That is direct indexing, then simple indexing, then differential indexing, angular indexing. That's all. And you need to calculate the degrees, and accordingly you need to calculate the number of holes through which you need to index. So this is a crank which you need to disengage, and these are the plates, these are the stopping plates. So like suppose if you want to index through say 16 holes, so you have to mark this plate at every 16 holes. This is in the beginning only, this is in the beginning only. Okay. And then you have to go on releasing, that is disengage this crank, then rotate, come to the next stopping plate, engage this, and perform the milling. Again after that one particular teeth is milled, again go to the, again index through 16 holes. Okay. And it stops at this stopper plate, again do the milling. So like that you have to calculate, but you don't worry about this working, because in your syllabus it is not mentioned that working of the dividing head. We will quickly go through this presentation. Some of the slides you are already familiar. These are the, since this is important from industry, that is from mechanical engineering point of view, that's why I am touching it again. So this is turning tool, this is milling tool, this is drilling tool, this is what is your surface milling operation is, because I just now showed you the milling cutters, so you will be able to understand this. So this is called as the shell end mill, and this is your helical shell end mill, whereas this is your plain end mill. Plain end mill. Now this is used for external contouring operation, whereas this is used for face milling. This is again a peripheral milling. It is also called as the face milling. Why it is called the peripheral milling? Because the cutting is done with the help of the teeth which are situated on the periphery. These are the face milling operations with the help of the indexable insert. Now there are inserts which are fitted in this cutter. Okay, which are, first is it can be indexed, and second thing is once you have indexed all the cutting edges, then you have to throw it. So that's why it is called as the indexable and throwable inserts. And these are the carbide inserts or coated inserts. So these are the different operations here. Like this is your face milling, this is your shoulder face milling, that is for 90 degree. Then this is end milling operation. This is blind one. It is not open through and through. Now again, these are the slots. So this is also called as the side and face. But mostly this operation is called as the end milling. So this is how your end mills, face milling cutter will look like. And these are the cutter or the inserts. Usually the titanium carbide insert, they are golden color. This is the drill, and these are the flutes which are very useful for removing the chips, through the flutes. Because if the chips gets blocked, like suppose this flutes has already gone down, and if it gets blocked, and if the chips are not able to come out, then it will develop a tremendous chipping force, and your drill will break. That's why you have to, suppose if your flute length is say 100 mm, then you can drill little less than 100 mm. If you try to go more than 100 mm, then it will break, because above here there is a plain portion. So the chips cannot come out. So in that case, you have to do pecking like a woodpecker. And that's why it is called the peg drilling. It is called the peg drilling operation. So in which the drill is moved up and down, up and down, up and down. This is a microstructure. This is a coated tool. So this is a coating of carbide. Usually it is 5 microns. 1 micron is nothing but 0.001 millimeter. That is what is 1 micron. So this is important cutting tool geometry from examination point of view for 5 marks. You don't have to again learn the purpose of each and every angle. There are totally 6 angles. Again, I am telling, no need to learn the use of each and every. Only you have to learn this diagram. Okay, either you draw this 3D diagram, or you draw the 3 views: top view, side view, and the front view. So this is called the flank. This is your face. This is nose radius. And if you talk about the angles, then you have altogether 6 angles. One is your back rack angle, that is this. Then back rack angle will be seen in the front view. Then side rack angle will be seen in the side view. Okay. Then side cutting edge angle, that is this, which will be seen in the top view. Then end cutting edge angle, then that is this end cutting edge angle. Then you have end relief, and you have side relief. So altogether 6 angles you have to show. Then only you get full mark. So you can remember this diagram. This is, or you can learn this diagram. This is comparatively easy. Okay, so this is your back rack, this is your end relief, then this is your side cutting, then this is your end cutting, this is side rack, and this is side relief. Okay, then this angle, obviously, like suppose if this is 5 degree, and if this is 10 degree, obviously this will be 75 degree, because this is total 90 degree, and this angle is called as the wedge angle. So all the angles, now this you will learn in detail, that is how to specify, or what is the tool signature. So there is a signature, or ISO nomenclature of specifying the tool. You have to specify these angles in a particular sequence whenever you are writing the signature. So that particular sequence is important. Right? And here in this diagram, the functions, that is clearance angle, why it is given? So that it doesn't rub with the workpiece. This is a rake angle, so that the chips will flow easily. Then in again rake angle, you have three rake angles: positive rake angle, neutral rake angle, and negative rake angles. If anybody wants to learn in detail, then he can go through it. But from the examination point of view, only that diagram having that six angles, I'll show again. Only this diagram is very, very important. And this is the most popular question for 5 marks. And if you draw it neatly and if you show the angles properly and if it is legible, then you get 5 on 5. Means it should not be freehand. The projections in all the three views should match properly. These are the high speed steel cutting tools. Again, orthogonal cutting and oblique cutting. So in orthogonal cutting, this is for 2 marks only. The tool is 90-degree. See, this tool, whereas in oblique cutting, the tool is inclined at an angle. So this is what is your orthogonal cutting is, that is tool cutting direction. See, it is at 90-degree, whereas in oblique cutting, the tool will be inclined. So in orthogonal cutting, you will get only 3 forces. There are 3 forces, that is tangential force, longitudinal force, and radial force. This estimation of these forces, so there are formulas how to calculate these forces. So once you calculate these forces, then you can, based on these forces, and material removal rate can be calculated, and based on that you can decide upon the HP of the motor. And once you have the HP of the motor, then you can start designing the structure of the machine. Like suppose if you have 5 HP, you have calculated now 5 HP machine will be required, or 10 HP or 15 HP. So obviously if it is 20 HP, then the structure will be big, the sections, cross sections will be heavy. This is what is your cutting forces, and all these cutting forces can be represented by a diagram which is called as the merchant circle diagram, which you have to study in machining science and technology. This is, all these forces can be shown by merchant circle diagram, and these are the formulas for calculating the different forces. And alpha, phi, these are the various angle. Like alpha is the rake angle, phi is the shear angle. So far the important is only the angles, that is describe the various angles, draw and sketch, and what is orthogonal cutting and what is oblique cutting. So based on the forces, you can calculate the energy consumptions, then you can calculate the HP, horsepower. Then you have machining economics. Again, it is in the syllabus, but it is not important from examination point of view, because this will be taught in detail in machining science and technology in the next year. So in machining economics, we calculate what is the production rate and what will be the cost of every piece, so that it will be easy to quote. So in production rate, you have to consider these times: part handling time, machining time, then tool change time, tool indexing time. Then again there are mathematical models for calculating the production rates. That is, our aim is to, as a production engineer, as a mechanical engineer, or as a software manager, the aim is to maximize the production rate. So these are the derivations. So there is something called as the Taylor's tool life equation, that is T is equal to Vt raised to n. Again, don't bother about that equation. That is a very famous equation in machining science, Taylor's equation. Without Taylor's equation, uh, the machining science study is incomplete. So your production rate should be maximum and your cost should be minimum. So again, there are some formulas to calculate the cost. Then third important question, like first I told that what are the that is sketch and label the different angles. Then what is orthogonal and what is oblique cutting, and third is what are the different type of chips. This is again for the 2 marks. So you have continuous chips. Continuous chips are always dangerous. The chips should be discontinuous. See, this is a tool, this is a workpiece, and these are the chips. So chips should be discontinuous. It should not be a continuous, a single chip. Continuous नहीं होना है. It can hit the operator or nearby peoples. So even if it is a ductile material that is here, which gives continuous chips, you can provide the chip breaker to break the chips. There are provision, there are chip breakers on the inserts. Chip breaker is nothing but a shallow cavity, a khadda. So what happens, the chip, if it is coming continuously, it gets obstructed because of that khadda. It's kind of a pit. Like suppose if you are traveling on a straight road, and if there is a sudden khadda or a cavity, then you fall, isn't it? So that continuation is broken down. Like suppose a car is you are traveling through a car, so if there are pits or bumps, the speed has to reduce. You cannot have the same speed. So same thing, the function of the chip breaker is, so there are usually the cavities provided on the inserts. So moment the chip hits that cavities, it gets broken, and that's why the name is chip breaker. Chip breaker. Chip breaker means it breaks the chip. So you have continuous chips and discontinuous chip. Another chip type is, that is third, is called as the built up edge. Built up edge. And the short form is BUE. In MCQ, this will be asked. Built up edge, BUU. But of course, in MCQ, you have options also. But if the options are very close, then the students get confused. So BUE is nothing but a built up edge. That is, this is ये जो दिख रहा है, that is called the built up edge. Like you have a chip here and you have a cutting tool here. Because of the temperature, some portion of the chip sticks to the cutting tool, and that is what is called as the built up edge, BUE. This is your BUE, built up edge. This is your regular chip and this is your built up edge. This is what is, so this is another chip, a small chip which sticks to the cutting tool. See, these are the chip breakers. As I told, chip breakers are nothing but a kind of a cavities which are provided on the inserts or which are provided on the tools. So the chip which is coming, it hits, or it can be like this also. It hits the insert and it gets broken. But usually the cavities, providing the cavities on the cutting tool is more common, like this. There are different type of chip breakers: step type, groove type, clamp type, secondary rake type. Not important. Temperatures in cutting, not important. I mean, when I say not important, means it is from examination point of view. Don't misunderstand. Everything is important from your professional life, but from examination point of view, because how much you will study, how much you will learn, because we were also student. Most of the things you are not seen practically, so it becomes difficult to understand. it becomes very difficult to understand. No doubt you can see videos, YouTube, but then you should have time, to see all those things. So temperatures in cutting. So, so because of the friction between the chip and the tool, and because of the higher cutting rates, higher cutting speeds, higher depth of cut, the more the friction, the more is the heat developed. So red means it is dangerous, and nowadays the machines, they are it is called as the adaptable, machining. Adaptable machining means it detects, it measures the temperatures, machining temperatures, it measures the forces, cutting forces, and it adapts to the situation. Like suppose if the forces are more, then automatically it reduces the speed of the tool or feed of the tool. And it also gives the indications. That is what is called as the adaptive control. Adaptive control means it adapts to the situations. So how to measure the temperature? So CNC machines, it has thermocouples, because normal thermometers will not be helpful, as it measures temperature up to 40 degrees Celsius. So you can have thermocouples which can touch, as well as which cannot touch. So like our infrared thermometer, like in Corona, we have seen infrared thermometers. They do not touch. At the same time, this infrared thermometer should be able to detect the temperature for the rotating parts. This is what is important. Now we are stationary, our palm is stationary, so infrared thermometer can detect the temperature perfectly. But if the part is rotating, and that too with higher RPM, we are talking about 4000, 5000 RPM, it should detect the temperature. Then what are the factors? So this is fourth important questions influencing the cutting forces. So main are your cutting speed, feed, and depth of cut. These are the most important parameters. Then obviously another parameters like chip, condition of the chip, then temperature rise, then whether condition of the tool, whether your tool is sharp or blunt, then workpiece material, rigidity of the machine, machine tool or machine, if it is rigid, then it will cut properly. This is a tool life equation which is suggested by the Taylor. So it gives you the correct or the ideal cutting speed. What should be the cutting speed? So it is a function of cutting speed is a function of tool life, then speed and depth of cut. So it is inversely proportional. So if the cutting speed is high, like say 300 meters per minute, 500 meters per minute, then obviously your tool life is going to be less. Your feed has to be less, and your depth of cut has to be less for higher cutting speed. There are some corrections, and that's why it is called the extended Taylor's equation. Again, not important from examination point of view. Then where? So this is FW Taylor, and this is the famous Taylor's equation: Vt to the power n is equal to c, where V is the cutting speed, T is the tool life, and n is the Taylor constant. N and C, these are the Taylor constants. So what he says, it gives you, see, this is a graph of log V and log T. I know you may not be knowing what is this graph log V and log T. So you have to take log of V, you have to take log of T and plot the graph. So this is done on logarithmic graph papers. I know you may not have seen this. You are familiar with our normal graph papers, but if you go to stationery shop and if you ask for the semi-log paper, So semi-log paper you will get, and you can just see it cost you only 1 rupees per paper. So you will see the log scales. So the purpose of this logarithmic scale is it can accommodate huge data on a single graph paper. If you use normal graph paper, then it is going to be very crowded. So in order to accommodate larger data or a huge data, logarithmic scale is used. For example, shares. So in the shares, it is a logarithmic scale. The graphs which are drawn, those are drawn on the logarithmic scale. These are the tool life curves. What are the different tools? High speed tool, then carbide tools, cast alloy. Cast alloy is outdated. High speed steel, carbide, and ceramics. And then you have CBN and then diamond. CBN stand for cubic boron nitride. Then flank wear, then crater wear. These are the most common wear on the tool. So there are instruments which can measure the wear. So this wear will lead to the failure. Now this is machinability index. Machinability index means it is the ease with which the material, workpiece material can be cut. That is what is called as the machinability index. It is the ease with which the workpiece material can be cut. That is what is called as the machinability index. So if you know the machinability index, you can understand, whether this particular material can be cut. Like suppose MS can be cut easily, aluminum can be cut easily, but stainless steel, alloy steels, income machinability index is high, so they are difficult to machines. Okay, fine. If you have any doubt, you please ask, and then we'll continue our journey next time. Now milling is over. Now we'll start with the drilling. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for adjusting the lecture also, because we have meeting at 12:30. Already we have missed many lectures, so I don't wanted to miss that lecture.